Well, hey, I thought I would jump on here again. You know, I'm always making these somewhat fancy coffees, or, I'm using my Nespresso machines, and maybe not everybody has stuff like that in their homes. Maybe not everybody has, for example, a bazillion bottles of syrup. And maybe not everybody has drawers and drawers full of coffee, and even more up in their cabinet. So I wanted to show you what I would call a basic pantry coffee. You can think up a fancy name for it. In my pantry, I've got this little plastic thing full of various extracts that I've collected over the years. You know, extracts last a really long time. And so what do I have here? I've got cake batter, almond, rum, peppermint, orange, coconut, banana, coffee extract, vanilla. I've even got some essential oils. I've got peppermint and lavender and, another peppermint. I like peppermint. So I'm going to take this vanilla extract because most people have vanilla extract. It's used so commonly in so many recipes, but you can use it to make a really good tasting cup of coffee that even tastes kind of fancy. Now, I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to put any sweetener in this coffee, but you can definitely sweeten it, because if you do, it will bring out the flavors. Okay, imagine the difference between making cookies or cake with sugar or without sugar. Which is going to taste better? The stuff with sugar, okay? But I am going to use, now, I am going to use my Nespresso machine because, well, I guess I could make instant coffee. I do keep some for flavoring stuff, but it's easier to use my Nespresso Vertuo. And what I've got here, actually, this is Ice Forte. This is meant to be made as an iced coffee, but just to show you, you can use any kind of coffee. So this is 7.7 ounces, okay? And I've got here some almond coconut milk. Most people these days have some, or many people, have some version of almond milk. That's one of the most popular and common plant-based or non-dairy milks, are most widely available these days. You know, for a while it was soy milk and rice milk. Now almond milk is the big deal. But whatever kind of milk you have is fine. And I'm going to brew my coffee first, but before I brew it, I'm going to take my vanilla extract. Let's see. Haven't opened it in a while. Now, this particular kind has one of these little lids where you can put drops in. But you know what I do if it doesn't have the dropper kind of lid? I take it and I just pour the tiniest little bit, the smallest amount that I can, into the lid, and it's just a few drops. But if you think about it, for those of you who do cook or bake, when you use vanilla, you usually use like a teaspoon of it, which is not very much. So, you know, we just want a hint of vanilla flavor. We don't want it to taste like, you can put too much. That vanilla smells so good. So, okay. Did I already put my capsule in? I'm losing track of what I'm doing. Let's see. Yes. Alrighty. I'm doing this like in simple steps. for those of you who are not used to making these fancy dancy coffees. Okay, so you know what? Because it looks so pretty, I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of milk in here to start with. Just a tad, because this is a 10-ounce cup. And with my particular coffee maker, it's going to sort of make its own froth called crema, which is where because it's gonna spin and whirl this around, and with centrifusion, pulling the oils out of the coffee and mixing it with air to make a frothiness that we call crema, C-R-E-M-A. And it's gonna do it kind of even more because the milk will froth up some. So I don't want to overflow. I can always put more milk in later. So we'll get this started. I can still smell the vanilla, so that's good. Now, one nice thing about using an extract to flavor your coffee is you can always put more in afterwards, okay? And again, you're going to use it by, you know, little drops or by tiny amounts in that lid from your extract container, because you don't want to overdo it. Ooh, okay, isn't this pretty? Here, let's watch a bit. Now remember, you can do this even with instant coffee. If you have an original line Nespresso, like I have a Pixie there, you can use that and do it as an espresso, or put a couple of espresso pods in there. So, oh, see how that's frothing up? Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna take the little stand off so the froth doesn't end up going into the bottom of the spout there. And this makes such a pretty coffee too. But remember, pretty is nice, but your main objective here is to drink a nice cup of coffee. So, you know, if it doesn't look pretty, that's okay. If you want it to look prettier with any coffee, shake a little cinnamon on top. Okay, so here we go. Eject my capsule. And you know what? Let me put this little stand back here to catch the drips. Okay. Now, I can smell the coffee. Let's see if I can taste the vanilla. Because if I cannot taste it, I will put a little more in. Now, I could have used, you know, I have all those other extracts. I could have used any of them. But I used the vanilla because that's the one that most people commonly have in their kitchens. I would say vanilla and almond extract are possibly the most common extracts. Okay, here goes. You know what? I said I was not going to sweeten this. I'm going to sweeten it. So, a lot of people use, you know, pink, blue, yellow, green. There's different sweeteners. I'm going to go ahead and take a packet of Splenda. This needs sweetening to me because I want to taste that vanilla, and the coffee is the coffee flavor is sort of covering it up. Oh, I'll put the whole thing in. And let me give it a stir. And you know what? If you use sugar, use sugar. If you use honey, honey. Maple syrup, agave, whatever you use is fine. Simple syrup, equal, sweet and low, monk's fruit. There's so many different sweeteners these days. Okay, let's see. Now I can taste some vanilla. I think it needs a tad more. So I'm going to use the little dropper function on this. Well, it's not exactly a dropper, but it does pour it a bit more. Whoops, there we go. Don't want to put too much in. think it needs more milk, actually. I can smell that vanilla much more now. Let me put a little more milk. So you may be saying, well, what the heck kind of recipe is this that she's adding this and that? You know, my grandmother was from, well, she was from Lithuania, but it's Poland now. You know, those borders and those countries have changed so much over history, but she came over here in the early 1900s. So at the time, it was Vilna, Lithuania. Now it's Vilna, Poland. And she didn't cook much, but when she did, she used what was called in Yiddish the shit method. No, I'm not cussing. Shit means spill. You spill a little bit of this, you spill a little bit of that. So that's what she did, and that's what I'm doing. I'm putting a little bit of this and that until it tastes good. You've seen cooks, you know, who are making a recipe and they'll taste and they'll put something else in and they'll taste because they want to get that flavor just right. It's okay to do it with your coffee. And when you finally, you know, if you're really technical about it, you can always write down, okay, put in 1/8 of a teaspoon of vanilla. Wasn't enough, I put in another 1/8 of a teaspoon, or whatever, you know, in case you want to keep a record so you can reproduce your recipe. Okay, let's taste this now. Oh, this is much smoother. It still has that strong coffee flavor, but it's got a nice, I don't know, you can kind of taste. Well, all right. In all honesty, if you made this for me and gave it to me and said, what's in this? I don't know that I would think vanilla, but I can tell that there's something in it and it tastes pretty good. I'm gonna sweeten it a little bit more. You know, to my taste buds, well, I haven't sweetened coffee that much. I haven't used this kind of stuff in a long time, but when I combine actually it's a sweet and low and an equal, now that I remember. So this is a Splenda and an equal. I'll give this a try and see. Better, that's better. The sweeter the better, it seems, with this. Okay, so the point here is you can use extracts that you have in your pantry and any kind of coffee you have, any kind of milk you have. If you want to sweeten it, any kind of sweetener, you know, or syrups or other stuff, stevia, whatever you have, and keep putting things in little by little until it tastes just right to you. So that's my pantry coffee by the shit method.